Hello and welcome to It's About Youth. I'm your host, Fanashe. Now, as AI becomes more deeply woven into our digital lives, the risk of young people facing online threats are evolving very fast. Now, while policymakers and tech giants are working to solve some of the problems concerning AI, youth voices are also stepping up to shape this conversation. And on today's show, we're joined by two youth online safety advocates who aren't just raising the alarm, but also offering real solutions. Thank you so much for joining me, Andesh and Effie, fellows from Youths IRL. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having us.
Right.
Thank you so much for having us.
Let's draw the landscape here first before we start going into some of the solutions, right? How do you see AI impacting youth's online experience differently than, let's say, the older generations or, the time before? Are these issues that you think are being overlooked, right? Are there issues you think are being overlooked right now in the broader AI debate? Let's start with you, Effie.
Well, if you ask me, right, in my community, the older generation, that when you always come to like family gathering or you just go for, coffee shop conversation, when you talk about AI, for them, it's like, huh, AI? Or is that a robot who's going to do my cleaning at home?
Right.
Things like that, because let's be honest, like those AI robot, it's also considered AI. And so for me, the older generation in my community, they do not really have the thought or the knowledge of AI. But if we are talking about the millennials or my generation, my era, the youths, we do heavily use AI. I mean, my surrounding, they do use it. Like, it can go from grammar checking.
ChatGPT,
yes,
for
ChatGPT, Gen AI, yes. And then they will use it for email drafting, and then it goes to like, even they plan their travel itinerary with that. So if you are seeing the impact of youth experience, it's actually a very huge topic on like how online or AI it's affecting them. So if I were to narrow it down, I would give you two. The first one will be the erosion on their critical thinking skill, and second is the privacy concern.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
So
because most people will go on ChatGPT and basically write their whole information
yes,
on
and
there.
they get over reliance on ChatGPT. Like there's a lot of Gen AI too, but mostly they use ChatGPT. So like assignment or even creative arts, they just throw everything into ChatGPT and then they just put things like that and submit to the lecturers.
And I heard there's also a way for you to sort of disguise it so that it's not plagiarism and all that as well, right?
Yes, as long as you have the money to pay the AI tool, that's a lot of things you can do. Right. So, yeah.
Andesh, what's your thought on this?
For me, when it comes to the older generation, we have to understand that they're actually adapting to it. Like nowadays, I've seen the older generation, like for example, even my grandma, she sees that AI is like a tool. It's like a blessing because with AI tools, you can now generate art or create music. So it's a very essential tool when it comes to the entertainment sector.
Right.
But for us, like me, for the younger generation, we see that AI is now actually something that we're growing along. I believe it was in 2022 when ChatGPT was really popular. So as we're growing along with it, we are much more aware about what are the negative impacts of AI.
I see.
Like for example, because of people using AI too much, people from the creative sector are facing the impact. The ironic thing is that this AI, they're actually trained based off real art produced by real artists and even musicians. So one issue that's always overlooked is for the older generation, they might just want to create like a social media post. So rather than commissioning an artist and waiting like 1 or 2 days for them to create the art, they can just simply go to like ChatGPT or even now Google VEO, and just prompt it to create an art and then just publish it in 1 second. Right. There's something called the butterfly effect, where one small action can create a huge difference. Maybe not instantly, but it'll take time. So when one person does this and he thinks like, okay, maybe it's just one post, it won't do much, the real issue comes in when a lot of other people also do the exact same thing.
I think the best example for this is like during, I think, Raya, they start the Gilby trend with AI. So they, they put their photo into ChatGPT and then ask them to recreate the art style.
And I heard the producers aren't happy as well, like the studio itself aren't happy as well.
Of course, because, and they can't do anything because they actually don't have a law. Like copyright on such thing on AI tools.
They're like also wanting to keep up with the trend, so they kind of just overlook about what's the issue like in the longer run.
Now you mentioned like copyright, I mean deepfakes, for example, all that comes along with this advancement. There's a lot of people who are using it, but at the same time, there's a lot of damage it could do as well. Right. Let's move on. So what are some of the misconceptions when people still have about what online safety means, you know, coming from Youths online safety advocates, especially in this AI-driven world right now?
Well, if you ask me, I think the biggest misconception is you want to avoid harm, you don't use. But that's the thing, you know, nowadays youths, we talk about youths, like we grow up with digital, we grow up digitally, but the thing is not everyone is AI literate. You grow up, yes, you grow up in this era, but do you know what you're doing? So my take is the misconception for usually parents is, oh, I have to limit their screen times with parental controls on the app, this and that. Yes, it's helpful, but there is only so much, you know, it can be done, you know. So I believe that for this kind of misconception, the key to break this is actually communication.
Right.
Like, create a safe space for your child, you know, so that when they are facing, for example, if they are sexually groomed, you have an open communication with your kid. They will actually come and tell you instead of, you know, they just hide it and go through the difficult situation themselves.
Right. I mean, I have nieces and nephews, and somehow they always find a way to get online, even with parental controls or even with limiting screen time, because they're smart these days. You know, they always find a way to get online. What about you, Andesh? What's the misconception when it comes to online safety that people just don't quite understand?
From what I've observed and based on my perspective, I think the most general misconception is that when you mention online safety, people always correlate it with like scams, like sketchy links, like don't click on that link, don't reply to that message because you'll get scammed. But when we bring in a topic of AI, people are using AI to create deepfakes and even fake voice modules, like pretending to be someone trusted in order to scam money from them. So people would say that online safety is about protecting your finance. But one misconception is that online safety is also about protecting your minds. Because nowadays when you go to like a video platform, because of the AI, even younger kids, they're being exposed to videos that are actually masked, or they have hidden inappropriate content and themes inside of it. So rather than just, you know, thinking online safety is about protecting your money or just don't go to that link or this link, it's also about protecting your mind and beware of what you're exposed to. And just like you mentioned, like for younger kids or even like your nephews and whatnot, they should know, and even the parents should take precautions in order to avoid their kids and younger ones to not be exposed to such content. Because in the longer run, when you're exposed to all of these kind of contents, it can actually bring them like emotional pressure and even affect their cognitive thinking skills.
Right. So I guess that brings me to my next question, actually, which you have addressed a little bit here, but maybe you can elaborate a little bit more. So what connections do you find when it comes to online safety and things like mental health, digital rights, or even inequality, for example? You know, these are some of the things that you've touched on, but paint me a picture of the connection or the impacts when it comes to, you know, some of the issues that we mentioned just now.
Okay, well, if you ask me, right, online itself, it's like a blessing and also a curse, you know. Because if we talk about digital rights, like online and digital rights, online is nice because you can stay anonymous. That is like your freedom of being private, that's your privacy, right? But at the same time, the curse come in is when people start to misuse the anonymous they can have. So like, you know, they can start being anonymous, they think it's fun to go around and just abuse this kind of privacy they have, and start with cyberbullying, cyber grooming, and this like it eventually is a domino effect. It leads to the mental health issue where has a kid or even has not a kid but has an adult. If you are, you know, let's say for today my photo is being, you know, put in the AI tool, deepfake it and make it as a nude and just spread it out, and inappropriate content, just spread it out, and it will affect me as well in the long run. Like, it will give me a lot of trauma. I will feel very anxious, like, oh, what's going to happen if I can't even use social media anymore? So that's where I think the rights and the mental health are from. And if you talk about the inequality in the online space, there is, of course, inequality because, like we mentioned just now, like certain people, they can pay the Gen AI tools. I mean, they subscribe to it, and then they can ensure that their work don't have plagiarism, but what about those who are not digital literate or who are coming from the rural area, which without much financial support, they can't even do that.
Yeah, and Andesh, if you don't mind explaining a little bit, do you think youths are aware of some of the issues that are raised by Effie just now? Do you think, or are they too engrossed with being online and keeping up with the trend that, you know, all of this are being sidelined?
I believe so, because like we've mentioned earlier, when a trend happens, people just kind of overlook everything else just to be a part of like a group. Like you don't want to be left out. So when it comes to youth and like what you've mentioned, online safety, they just kind of focus on what are the pros rather than on the cons. So like for example, when it comes to mental health, like I've mentioned earlier, it's also about protecting your mind. So when you just consume all this content, you kind of forget about like how you're actually being manipulated and how you're being exposed to inappropriate content which can affect your cognitive thinking skills. So when you're just exposed to all of this and you're being addicted to it, you just kind of forget that, oh, there's actually such an issue which I should, you know, raise my concern about and even voice out on.
Right.
Actually, to add on to this, I do think youths are aware of what's going on, but it comes back to mental health, like the peer pressure. Every one of my friends is doing it.
Right.
I FOMO, the fear of missing out. No, they have these kind of thoughts like, oh, they are, for example, they are putting the photos into ChatGPT to generate as Sailor Moon. I want to do it as well because I'm FOMO. If someone go into the big group and say, I don't want to do it because it's not good to put your photo into the Gen AI, the data will keep it. But everyone is doing it, they will look at her like, you sure? I think you are just, you know, making a fuss about it, paranoid. It's not real. So I think the peer pressure, I think youths are aware.
Also, if I may add, earlier you asked about what are the connections between online safety and also digital rights, right? I think something that's really popular is that when everyone is using services on a huge platform, you tend to believe that everything on that platform can be trusted. Like, I mean, for example, if everyone is using it, you obviously wouldn't think something is wrong with it, right?
Right.
So in return, you kind of ignore and don't realize what digital rights you have with it, because you believe that if everyone is using it, then there's nothing to be worried about.
Right.
But in return, you should be aware of how exactly your data is being used and how exactly you're being manipulated with the content that's been recommended to you.
I mean, let's be honest, who among us read terms and conditions these days? We really don't. And I think they make it purposely in small fonts so we don't read them. So yeah, I completely agree with you with regards to, you know, how youths are handling it and the FOMO bit. I'm a bit older, so I probably don't have FOMO anymore. But yeah, I mean, I see it in young people when it comes to all these trends. They do wanna jump on it as soon as a lot more people are on it, because they don't want to miss out. Right, okay. We want to talk more about these issues and the current safeguards, as well as some of the solutions that you guys have presented. But we'll go for a quick break first. Hello and welcome back to It's About Youth. I'm your host Fanashe, and today we are joined by fellows of Youths IRL, Andesh as well as Effie. Thank you so much for being here and for explaining to us just now some of the issues related to AI that youths are facing right now. Now, we talked about the issues and we talked about, you know, some of the impacts it has, but let's talk about the current safeguards here, right? Because, you know, the government has announced a few safeguards like licensing, for example, or, you know, making sure social media are accountable and, you know, making sure there's basic AI learning in schools, for example. So what do you make of the current safeguards in place right now to protect people, especially youth, when it comes to threats that comes with AI? Maybe Andesh, we can start with you.
For me, I believe that the safeguards are there, but they're not enough. They're more so just like surface levels.
Right.
Like, for example, platforms, you know, they have just like, okay, you're supposed to just have parental control, so just like a kids mode for them to use. But that's, like I said, it's just a surface level, because when you dive deeper, there's still cracks here and there where inappropriate content still slips through the recommendation system, especially for users who are kids. So rather than just telling, you know, platforms should do this and that, the government should actually come up with like guidelines or even like laws where you're supposed to be aware, and also you should like disclose how exactly your AI recommendation system is working, so that it can actually improve trust for the users towards the platforms, and also parents especially can be aware of how exactly the data is being used and how exactly such content are being recommended to kids.
Right, right. I mean, I think there's a lot of information out there that is missing when it comes to AI, because a lot of people use it, but they like the convenience of it, but they don't really know what goes into that convenience, right? Effie, what's your thought on this?
I mean, I agree with what Andesh mentioned. Like, it's pretty much on the surface area, because the thing is, AI, it's an evolving ecosystem. Every day there's something new. Every day they are feeding on our data. So I would say right now what Malaysia is doing, it's okay. It's not that bad. I would say they're doing quite well, because Malaysia is one of the frontalier for in Southeast Asia. You know, when it comes to AI, these kind of things, they're actually doing it. But I believe it can't just be the government who's doing all this. It comes back to, you know, everyone have to take part, like the tech developers, the youth itself, the parents, or even school, if I would say. So right now it's just like that, but I believe as it goes further and further, you know, with the help of other parties coming in, it will be better, the safeguard, especially when the youth itself, the user itself, have the knowledge of what's going on.
Right, okay, so you guys have presented some policy recommendations to the Ministry of Communications recently. Let's hear them. So could you walk us through your top 2 or 3? And I understand there's quite a few. So what are they, and more importantly, why you prioritize these recommendations?
Okay, for me, my top 2 is actually one of the proposed amendments to PDPA 2024, the Personal Data Privacy Act.
Right.
Another one is a content moderation tool that we suggested.
Okay.
So I will start with the amendments that we suggested to PDPA, which is notice and choice. So for that, we actually, like we talked about just now, platforms, they will just give you the smallest guideline ever, but you would take a lot of time to read through the terms and conditions of how they're going to process your data, how they collect your data. What we are seeing is this kind of platform, we suggested to, you know, PDPA, this kind of platform should actually make it more user-friendly, easier for people to, you know,
more
to
layman
yes,
as
or maybe some graphics, some diagram would be nice, because we are looking at it, we read it and we understand it, and we'll be able to make much more informed decision when we know what they're going to do with our data. And the second one is the content moderation tool, which is the opt-out option. Now, this opt-out option, it's a bit different, because it's not like the usual mute or hide button you see on Facebook, for example. It's a bit different. This one, it's to actually empower victims or minors that, you know, have their pictures to become a CSAM, a child sexual abuse material. So if they see it, if it goes viral, they see it. What they can do is, with the opt-out option, once they click on it, they'll be able to stop, you know, like delete that thing from the platform until the platform moderators step in to, you know, remove everything. And when we are presenting this to the Ministry of Communication, right, one of the questions they ask, what's so different about this when you can just request a platform to remove the content? The thing is, a lot of people,
not that easy.
Yes, a lot of people didn't know that to request that, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
It's not easy, it's complicated. So the opt-out option tool is mostly make it easy for people to do
and
it.
faster as
Yes.
well. Andesh, do you mind sharing?
For me and my team, we come up, my top 2 would be, first of all, AI content moderation, where basically the problem stems from, even though there's like AI-induced algorithm or moderation, right, to take good care of like the content on social media platforms, still inappropriate content, especially that are directed towards kids, they still slip through, and it still ends up in your recommendation systems. So in order for us to come up with this policy where it is regarding AI content moderation, we propose that for every social media platform that uses AI content moderation, there should be a human team behind it. So whenever there's like a report, like let's say, this should be flagged or that should be flagged, a human team should look over it. So when they look over it, they can now like decide whether it's actually true, like what's flagged by the AI, is it actually correct or is it wrong? and in return they can improve the AI system, which in return can actually improve their reliability and also the accuracy of the AI content moderation system. So the Ministry of Communications did ask how exactly can this be done. So we proposed that there should be 2 human teams. One would be more generalized, and then the one would be more specialized. Like, let's say, if the AI flags like something that is known as child sexual abuse material, that should be the highest priority. So that should be more focused on, and the human team, the specialized human team, would decide whether that is correct or not. As for others such as like spams or even scams, a smaller or more general human team will look over it. And with this, the AI content moderation, as we know, is still imperfect, can be improvised over time. Next, we propose that there should be AI algorithm transparency and regulation. As we know, and as I've mentioned earlier, Malaysian government should come up with guidelines for social media platforms to disclose how exactly these algorithms work and what kind of data are being taken, especially from users that are kids. The main idea for this is to improve trust between the user and also the social media platform, so that they can better understand what exactly is being taken in and how exactly are such content being recommended to these kids. So if the Malaysian government comes up with guidelines and even laws that can actually motivate these social media companies to disclose how exactly their AI work, this in return can improve the trust, like I've mentioned, between the user and also the social media platform.
Right. These are brilliant suggestions, and coming from youths yourself, and I think if you bring this to Parliament, I'm pretty sure you'll get some uproar there. But okay, so talk to me about the, not to say reaction, but when it comes to youth voices being seriously taken, do you think they are being seriously taken enough to shape AI and online safety policies? Or what needs to change? Because you mentioned just now that a lot of youth representation when it comes to policy making is a bit missing. So what needs to change here?
I think for me, right, I think the thing that they have to change is the mindset. It's like, youths, we grow up with these kind of things. We grow up with technology. Although sometimes the way, we recommend might not be as professional as how, the older people think it is. But I think they need to stop having the mindset where I'm old enough, I have a lot of experience.
Right.
So I don't think you are a young kid, you know what you're saying. So that's the thing that I think that they have to change.
Right. Mindset.
The mindset.
It's just like what we've mentioned earlier, that if this policy is actually regarding the youth themselves, then the policy itself should be developed and even made with the youth themselves from an earlier stage, rather than just consulting them in the end.
Right. I think we have time for one last question. So let's talk about, imagine a world of safe, or what does a safe and empowering digital future look like for you? And if you have a message for young viewers as well on advocating for online safety and to shape the digital way forward for Malaysia, let's do that to the camera. So let's tackle the first question first.
To answer your first question, how I visualize, a safe and empowered online environment is trust. Okay, when we talk about a lot of things, like a lot of parties can do different things, like the platform should, do something about the content moderation, the government should come up with the rules, this and that. But at the end of the day, it's the trust, we have among each other. We are online, we need the trust. It seems as when you're offline. Like, just like a normal person, you go out from your house, you trust the country, like you trust, like you will be safe. It's the same concept. That's what I'm thinking.
Right. Andesh, safe and empowering digital future looks like to you?
Well, if it goes for trust, I'll go for comfort. Because, like I've said, these platforms themselves are the ones providing all these services. So if they themselves know that they have quite a huge responsibility to bear, and they can ensure that their platforms are now safe to use by even young users, then now we can, be sure and assure ourselves that all these AI-induced algorithms or even AI content moderation, they're all done with empathy. So these platforms, they also prioritize user safety over clicks.
Right. I like that, trust and comfort. Now, very brief, short message to the viewers out there about advocating for online safety, especially from youths itself. Which camera can we look at? Maybe this camera?
All right. For me, my message to the younger viewers who are watching this right now is your voice are bigger than you think it is. You know, don't because of FOMO, don't because people are not doing it, then you're not doing it. Do it, you know. Your voice matters. You have to think that you want to be in a world where they shape the platform for you or you shape the platform for yourself. And you can do that by joining Youths IRL because we have another application batch opening up soon. Yes. Pass to you, Andesh.
Right. So Youths IRL, they'll be opening their fellowships starting next month. So be sure to be on the lookout for the applications and make sure to follow their socials, which is at Youths IRL on TikTok and Instagram.
Maybe we can have a short what Youths IRL stands for.
Youths in real life.
No, as in like what is your mission or vision or
right.
the purpose of the organization?
Okay, the purpose of Youths IRL is actually a fellowship, you know, for youths age 18 to 25, you know, for them to shape policy that can make online environment safer, and also empowering them, give them a platform, give them a place for youths to voice out their opinion and also know their thoughts on how the future of AI could be.
Yeah,
right.
It's a very good platform if you believe that you could be a change maker and also bring more awareness that no matter who you are or how old you are, every voice there is actually very valuable. And if I may add, this fellowship is actually organized by Ratio Cause, a social impact agency, and Celcom DG with the support of Content Forum.
Right, okay. I don't think there's that much else for me to say. Applications are open. You can get more information. I'm pretty sure if you Google and go to the social media platforms, you'll get more information on that. Thank you so much, Effie and Andesh, for your time and for enlightening us on the importance of online safety in this AI-driven world. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.